You're live.
Hello and welcome to my show. My name is Madison Star Moon. Joining me tonight from deep inside the rabbit hole, David Weiss is here. We also have Jaron from Jeranism and Scott, my friend from Facebook. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to discuss all things flat. Now, flat Earth is a very controversial subject that many people consider it even a fringe for the conspiracy theorist. But tonight, we are going to really dive into it and ask the questions that everybody wants to know. I consider Jeranism and David Weiss two kings in the flat earth. I don't know if you call it conspiracy, but the flat earth theory. That's a better way to put it. I have had a great chance to listen to their YouTube videos. I mean, I've been a fan of both of them for a while, and I find them both to be extremely intelligent. Their arguments are well thought out. These are not people just shooting from the hip and just coming up with anything. These are people that have actually done the work to research this theory. And so, on that note, I'm going to get things started. I want to welcome everybody to the show. I'll start with you, David. How are things going for you?
Things are going very well. Thanks, Madison.
Okay. And I want to thank you so much for plugging my video on your webpage. That was very nice of you.
Well, that was a great documentary you did. You mixed it up the way I like it with some music. You keep people's attention, and you are insane the way you go after all those people. More people should take after you.
Yeah, thank you. So what is your newest Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole video, or what are you working on right now?
Lately I decided I made a picture book, a book of memes, 100-page hardcover coffee table book. I actually made it for myself, but people loved it and wanted copies, so I've been ordering them up. I made a video about it, and I made a free ebook of it, and it's very effective. You plop this down on the coffee table, some unsuspecting soul picks it up, and they're ruined for life.
That is awesome. Now, where can we find this book?
Well, you really can't find it. It's very expensive. It's a high quality book. I order it literally through the Apple Picture Book manufacturing. I've made the files available. You can download them from the ebook, and it's all available on the top of each of the Flat Earth pages on deepinsidetherabbithole.com.
That is so special. Yes. I also want to ask you, just for my own personal, I think I've asked you this before, but you're wearing a shirt that says the earth is flat in one of your interviews. Where did you get that shirt?
You can also order that at deepinsidetherabbithole.com. I literally have a place that makes shirts on order, and I make them because I don't know where else to get them. So they're good. It says the earth is flat. That's what it says. That's my favorite shirt.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So yes, I do have Scott that's on with us, and Scott is a firm flat earth believer. Did we just join another caller? It looks like we did. I'm not sure though. There's a minute delay between me and my producer, so he will let me know if he brought someone in. Okay, so Scott, how are things with you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, I'm very glad to have you on. And you are a firm believer in the flat earth theory, correct?
To me, it's super obvious, and I just don't understand how anybody would deprive themselves of thinking that it couldn't be. So I just don't understand the whole theory of not. Why wouldn't you want to know? I don't get that.
Right. I think people just don't believe it. I have so many questions that are running through my mind that I'm going to hit Jaron and David with tonight. But okay, so yeah, I'm glad that you're on the call. Jaron from Jeranism. I was lucky enough to be a guest caller on one of your shows, and you guys filled me with so much information in just that brief amount of time. How are things going for you?
Excellent. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Is it you and your wife? I don't know if she's your wife or your girlfriend, but you guys kind of...
Yeah, we just had our 5-year anniversary, so wife.
Okay, great. So you and your wife have this show together or whatever, and so you guys are just so full of this great information, and you're very, very popular. You're like famous in the flat earth community. You are. And so what are you working on right now?
Just the same stuff. I spend a lot of time doing the research and really trying to investigate exactly how they went about doing what they did, and new ways or new tests or experiments that I could show the people who still can't see it. And some people will never see it, but it just comes down to whether or not you are open enough to think, or at least, ponder about whether or not it's possible that we could be all lied to. And when you do, if you take the time just to do the research, within a couple hours, you're going to see that there is no proof anywhere that you live on any kind of a spinning ball, other than people's words. So it comes down to, do you trust men? Do you trust people telling you where you live? Or do you trust your own senses, your own eyes, and some experiments that we've been trying to get done? So just trying to find that one experiment that is the nail in the coffin and, people can't refute, but that's the hard thing to do.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So I have no opinion yet. Even though I've done my research and everything like that, I find the flat earth theory very interesting. And but I'm not sold. I'm definitely not sold that we're on some spinning ball. I definitely know that we're not on a spinning ball. In my heart, I feel like that's a complete lie. And I think that the earth is much bigger than what they say. I don't believe any photograph of the earth from NASA is legitimate. I think it's all CGI. And I've completely debunked NASA in my mind. They're fraudulent. Okay, having said that, I'm not convinced. So I have some questions that I would like to ask you guys. And I don't know how you want to go about this, but should I just shoot a question and then one of you guys can figure out which one of you wants to answer it?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start off with the first one. This is one that's bugging me. And I know you guys hear this all the time, so a lot of these are going to be these new questions. Same old questions, excuse me. But the sunset. Okay, it looks like the sun is going down because it's allegedly going over the curvature of the earth. It's moving down. Well, if the earth is flat, where is the sun going?
I guess I'll start with that one, if that's all right. That's one of the most complicated. Can you hear me?
Okay, we just connected.
You have two people that just joined you.
I need to know who's connected right now.
Oh, okay.
615, who's this? 615.
Risha Leone in Nashville.
It's Reese? Risa?
Yeah, Risha in
Nashville. Nice. Okay, and then who else?
Doug,
hey, this is Doug in Arizona.
Okay.
And is this Jared on here?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I am so glad I called in. This guy has got the shit going on.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of yours, Jaron. I have to warn you, Doug is, I always, whenever he posts all this flat earth stuff on my page, I write conspiracy theorist in big capital letters with exclamation points and all this. I always give him a hard time, but he is a flat earther. But anyway, so I'm glad that everybody's on. He'll probably still connect people. And I'll just ask my first question and I'll hand it off to y'all because I don't want to talk the whole time. All right, so go back to David. He was answering the question about sunsets.
So there's several reasons why the sun sets, and everything we've been taught about the sun is not true. The sun is not 93 million miles away. It's not a giant burning ball of hydrogen or anything like that. It's actually very small and local. And the truth of the matter is, it's not even where we see it. We are only seeing the apparent position of a sun. But taking all of that aside, if you have something that's local and traveling across the top of the earth, when it's right above your head, if you wanted to look at it, you have to strain your neck back and look straight up. And it's up there above the clouds. But as it moves across the flat earth over, 10, 20, 30 miles away, you're now looking at it over near the horizon. And you don't have to look up anymore. You're looking straight over. And there's layers of density in the atmosphere. The clouds that were spaced out above you are now a solid line in the distance because they're all lining up due to your perspective. And as the sun moves away, it gets eclipsed by the clouds. It also, sunlight does not travel for billions of years, millions of years, and billions of miles. Light only travels a very short distance. So all of those things combined, along with air density, layers in the atmosphere, and land topography, the sun literally gets eclipsed. Just like if you're watching a plane fly overhead and there's a building across the street that's several stories taller than you, the building's edge will eclipse the plane and it is gone behind that. Move that building farther in the distance, you'll see the plane longer, but it will appear to go below the building when it's not. It's just perspective.
So you're saying the sun is actually just going away?
It's just going away, and we lose it due to convergence, perspective, layers of density. And there's also the solid evidence there that when it gets to a certain angle, the light from it bends downwards and we can no longer see it, even though it's still in our line of sight. We can only see so far. Jaron, you want to add to that?
Sure. I think an easy way to describe it is if you think of you're standing in a tunnel and you're looking down that tunnel, and say that tunnel goes as far as you can see. Well, eventually the roof or the ceiling of that tunnel is going to hit the road. So picture the tunnel going away from you. Eventually, if there's a light on the top of that tunnel, well, eventually the light's going to, if there's a string of lights, eventually it's going to hit the road. So it's the same thing with the sun. The sun is not changing its height. It's just going further and further away from you, which is going to cause it to get smaller and smaller and move towards that vanishing point. But the sun is a lot bigger than anything we can imagine. We say, obviously it's not 899,000, miles in diameter. But even if it's 10 miles in diameter, that's still, we can't even compare that to anything. There's nothing that we've ever seen that's, 10 miles wide. That's a city. So when you kind of picture that on top of the tunnel going away from you, then it kind of makes sense to why we see what we see when the sun sets. It's just
But why does it look like it's going down?
I have a video that I did in my kitchen. I call it my flat earth kitchen, where I show I have a line going across my counter parallel with the counter, and I move a little fake sun across that line. And when you're looking at it from the height of the line, you see it going straight across. But when you look at it from the height of the counter, it literally looks like it's going down at a 45-degree angle. It's all perspective.
Wow.
She's talking about too the sun. You're talking about the sun setting behind like the water,
Right. Uh-huh.
and it kind of looks like it's coming flat down.
Right.
If you look at some of those videos, you'll notice that it certainly looks like a lot of that is reflection from the water too.
Yeah. Okay.
Because picture, the bottom, if the bottom part of the sun is being reflected, it's just going to look like it's a full circle. I'm sorry, if
Right.
the top part is showing a reflection.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, I'm going to give someone else a chance to ask a question. Risha, do you want to try?
I'm out of my depth with this one. Yeah. I have to confess.
Yeah, but do you believe in the flat Earth?
I don't know enough to have an opinion on this subject. I would say that I have a question regarding why it seems like this is what I've observed with the clouds. We'll have some normal fluffy clouds during the day, and you'll see the Franken clouds above, but then right around 4 or 5, all of a sudden, the little fluffy clouds scurry off, like exit stage left, or exit stage right in this case. And then the only clouds in the sky are the Franken clouds. And then, of course, there's just insanely heavy chemtrailing going on around the sun. So I don't know how it relates to the flat Earth stuff, but can you explain what is this preoccupation with, the sunset?
Yes, I know who can answer that question. All right, go ahead, Doug. About hiding the sunset, tell them your theory.
There's so much going on. I mean, I agree with what Jared says. I agree with, I was just listening to the Mogul the other day, and it just, I just keep coming back to the same fact that whether the Earth is flat, and you've heard me say this, whether it's flat, square, round, whatever, the whole thing is they're lying to us what's going on. And that's what really gets me, is the lying fact that they think that we can't accept the truth of what's going on in our planet. They won't let us go to the Antarctic. They won't let us know what's going on in space. It's just that. Okay. Where does the lies stop? I guess.
That brings up a good question. Okay, what are they hiding from us with the flat Earth?
I'll jump in there, I guess. They're hiding, the truth of who we are and where we live. It's that simple. Because if everybody truly knew where we live and who we truly are and the true potential of a human being, they would not be able to control us. So I believe that the flat earth is their biggest concern and secret, because with that knowledge out there, they will lose control. And I just want to make another comment. You know, when you ask someone if they believe the flat earth, the problem is it's really easy to believe a lie, because someone in a white coat says this is it, and you don't have to do any further checking. You could sit on your couch, eat your GMO potato chips, stare at your television, and you're good. But to learn the truth, you really have to spend time, like we all have, and really look into it. You know, most ball earthers don't know anything about the ball that they're defending. The flat earthers know more about the heliocentric model than most people that are defending it. The only way, you know, the best way to become a flat earther is to seriously try to prove that we live on a ball.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So I have a question for you, Jaron. Okay. So I was telling someone about the flat earth theory, and they said, how could the earth be hollow and flat? What do you say to that?
How could it be hollow and flat?
Right. Well, because it's a hollow earth theory as well.
Right. It could be both. You know, let's say that there is a hole at the North Pole, which is the center on the flat earth map. And then we've only dug 8 miles deep. That's the deepest that we've ever dug. Any human's never been deeper than that. So you could definitely have, who knows how far down it goes, but if we've only dug 8 miles, who knows if there could be a hollowed out core, you know, to the earth. If you're thinking of it like a hockey puck, you know, you just go a little bit in from the top of the hockey puck and the rest of it could be hollowed out. Who knows?
Okay. What do you guys think they're hiding in Antarctica?
Well, I think that is it's the outskirts. I think it's not a continent, as we've been taught. And so it makes more sense on the flat earth theory when you think of Antarctica being this frozen wasteland that, you know, that never seems to melt and is inhospitable to life and flowers and trees and plants and bushes. So when you think of it that way, then it doesn't make sense that you're on a globe, because on a globe, the North Pole and the South Pole should be getting about the same amount of time with the sun. They should be almost identical, and they're nowhere near. There's, you know, hundreds of species up in the north, and in the south, you don't have anything. And so it makes more sense when you look at the flat Earth map and you realize that Antarctica is the outskirts, is the outer rim, the outer edge. And the reason why it's such a frozen tundra is because it gets the least amount of time with the sun, only during its summer and only for part of that day. So then it makes sense. And the reason why people always say, you know, hey, show us the edge. Where's the edge? Show me a picture of the edge. At least in my opinion, and I don't know, I haven't been to Antarctica, but I think that if you kept going, you would eventually just get so far away from the sun that it's too cold to keep going. So, you know, who would know if there's an edge? Now, some people think that there could be something on the other side of the ice wall, or, you know, there's another puddle. Some people call it puddle theory. And I don't know those things. I haven't seen evidence yet of that, but who knows? They've lied so much that I don't put anything past them at this point.
Right. A lot of people that mock the flat Earth think of it as the picture that we were shown as kids from the Flat Earth Society, showing a flat disc, with waterfalls flowing off the end. That's not it at all. It's more like a lake. If you think about a big lake inland somewhere with some islands, those islands are the continents. You can circumnavigate them by sailing around them. And if you want to go to the edge of the lake, you go to the edge of the lake. That's the shoreline. And the shoreline is Antarctica, and everything moving away from the lake is Antarctica. How far it goes, we don't know. But the water doesn't pour out of a lake, nor does it pour out of the flat Earth.
And that's where I feel that they're hiding something, because isn't it like the Van Allen radiation belts? It's like, oh, that's something we can't penetrate and go any farther, yet we went to the moon. Yeah. I mean, is this like a fence that's keeping us in, and they don't want us to find the edge of the fence? That's how I feel.
Yeah, I see that.
I guess the hard part for me
I want to interject something here.
Yeah, sure.
There is a documentary film on, I think it's Netflix, about Antarctica and about the people that go there every year. And, well, either it's a complete fiction or it's actually true. And it does appear there are some people who go there every summer, and there's people that are there year-round, which is kind of, very harsh in terms of the weather conditions. So I would just recommend that, you guys watch it, and next time you do speak on this show, give your opinion about it, because I'm curious.
Well, we can. We have seen it.
I've seen those.
Good, Jaron, you can start with this one.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's definitely people down there, and there's definitely people doing science down there, and that's all really happening. But I think what a lot of us fail to realize is how dependent we are on the idea of longitude and latitude, and how centralized and everything is. So meaning if you're down at the South Pole Station, there might be 300 people that are there for the summer, and those people are all in one location. You're not allowed to go anywhere. You can't walk off by yourself in the snow, or you can't, everything is right there. So where that is exactly on the flat Earth is the question. But everybody who's down there believes they're at the bottom continent and they're near the South Pole. So,
they actually said there were people from different countries down there and in different locations, but I'm not really clear on.
Oh, no, you're right. No, I'm saying
how close they were to each other as far as the locations go.
Right. That's the thing. To each other is the problem, because you've got the American group that's at the Amundsen Scott Station, and then you've got somebody from Australia, that big group. It's somewhere completely different. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely people down there. One of the reasons in one of the videos I did that talked about Antarctica and the 24-hour sun, I still have not been shown any evidence of a sun that circles during these months that we're in now, like December, January, November. There should be the sun that goes simply around the continent of Antarctica. It should be very easy to show. It would be very easy to videotape it and then show it to kids in classrooms. We cannot find any undoctored videotape of that.
Right. And Jaron, when you asked them, wasn't their excuse that they just don't have enough tape?
Yeah, basically they didn't have enough time, and they only get internet for a couple hours a day, and it would be too labor intensive for them to transmit. It's all BS, though. I mean, come on, at this point in our technology, it's not that difficult. We're talking about one video of 24 hours of footage. And they pretend like it's too crazy, we can't do it. They told me it wasn't in their mission statement, and I looked up their mission statement, and it was actually in their mission statement. But they, that they're supposed to provide data to students and people in the academic world, but they simply don't, and that should be a big shocker for everyone. And if you go online and look up their webcam footage, they've got probably a good set of like 40 months that you can actually watch these webcam footages from, but they're all doctored. Even if you look at any month, they will show the shadow like a stick. The shadow will go about halfway around, and then the video sets again at the beginning, and it goes again. But they never show the shadow making a 360, which to me was one of the biggest signs right off the bat.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I did notice Frankenclouds in the footage of this documentary, quite a few, and I was kind of surprised at that. I mean, I was thinking, well, it's the Antarctica, it's weird, it's down there, and of course the clouds will look weird, but they have that sort of speeded up footage where you see the clouds coming and going like super fast, and some of them were really strange looking clouds. So hasn't that dovetailed into your observations, if at all?
Hey, can I throw something in here real quick? Like I wanted to ask Jared this question. Okay, if a compass, and a magnet has two sides, a north and a south. Now, if we're in the northern part of the supposed globe Earth, the compass points to north. But now, if you go south of the equator, why wouldn't you have a south-pointing compass? And I've looked this up, and I've tried to find a pointing compass.
Yeah, I'm not sure such thing exists because.
Well, that's just it. I'm trying to figure this out because I mean, if there's two sides to a magnet, where's the other side of the magnet?
That's good,
Yeah,
Doug.
Good point.
Okay,
Dave,
I have a question. I'm sorry, I have a question about the moon, and this is probably you're gonna think I'm crazy. I don't care. Okay, so the moon. When I was younger, I always remember the moon coming out at night and the sun coming out in the day. But now the moon is out all the time. And I've asked my father, or I've asked friends, and they're like, oh, well, the moon does different things and this, that. I mean, what is the moon? And why is it out in the daytime now all the time? Like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's the moon, 12 o'clock in the daytime, early in the morning. It doesn't matter. It's always out now. Anyone?
I think that's just a way you're remembering it. You didn't, maybe as a kid, you didn't notice that it was out during the day. The phases of the moon are basically the same. And I say basically is because some people, like amateur astronomer Crow 777, he is noticing some weird anomalies with the moon, but he can't even put his finger on it. So I'm not going to claim that I can.
Is that Max Egan?
No, it's not. It's
okay.
He's Crow. He uses the same name, but
okay.
No.
Go ahead.
The phases of the moon don't make any sense. They're all it goes quarter, half, 3/4 full, and then works its way around again. But that wouldn't work 6 months later. As we're going around the sun, you'd have to reset the phases because they'd be off by a half a phase. When the Earth goes to the far side of the sun, but the whole heliocentric model with the moon doesn't work. Jaron?
Okay, hold on one second. One more question to add on to the moon. Since we know that we've never been to the moon, man's never been to the moon. Do we have any real footage of the moon? Like, what about the rovers or the other things that went up there to film? Is that real footage?
Yeah, not to me. I don't think that. We can get there. I'm not sure it's a place you can even get to. But that certainly is the mental job they did on us all by introducing the idea of the moon landing. We all grew up with just assuming that people had went there. So you look up in the sky, you see the moon, you kind of by default think, oh, people went to the moon, they stood on it, so we live on a ball. And if you really start to think about it, if that never was told to you and we never had anybody who went to the moon and we all knew that there was no way to get up there, I think we'd feel differently about where we all live, that we just assume you can live on a ball because we've seen people walking on the moon, which is a ball. So it must be that we're living on a ball. But, that's a big mental job they did on us. And I don't know what the moon is. I certainly don't. But I just know you can zoom in on it and get really close with a, 30 times zoom camera, which tells me that it's certainly not 238,000 miles. And there's no way NASA went there.
What's that crater? There's a crater in Celis or something that's 40 miles wide, NASA says, Jaron.
Mm-hmm.
There's a crater that's 40 miles wide. There's no way you can see that at 138,000 miles with your naked eye, but you can see it with your naked eye. So, their math doesn't work at all if you take the time and look at it.
Okay, what about the people that say there's aliens? Hold on, Doug. About the people that say there's extraterrestrials living on the moon, and that's why we haven't gone back. Because I get that from a lot of my truther friends.
That's a great thing to believe. The whole thing with aliens or extraterrestrials, I categorize them differently. Aliens are stuff that we can't explain, demons, spirits, whether they're true or not. I'm not going to debate that right now. Extraterrestrials to me are people that come from extra land beyond the poles, perhaps extra land below our Earth's surface. And they're here. If there are extraterrestrials here, they're not coming from billions of miles away. They're coming from a short conventional plane flight, if that's what they chose to travel in. Over Antarctica and close by. That's how I look at it. You know, there's the secret space program. I think there is a secret propulsion program, but nobody has ever gone into space. Right now, Elon Musk is saying he's planning a mission to Mars to take people to live on Mars, where he has yet to put a single person in orbit. Is that right?
Wait a second, y'all. You're saying nobody's ever been to space. The ISS is full of people that live there year round.
Okay.
All right. Allie is trying to join us, Amanda, but
okay.
We always struggle with her, so I'm going to keep trying to bring her in, all right?
Okay, but don't do it if it's going to be making that phone call thing, because that disturbs the interview.
Amanda.
Yes.
You're being sarcastic, right?
Of course.
You're okay, good. Just making sure, you're very convincing.
Thank you.
I'll talk brief and then someone else could jump in. The International Space Station is a big proof that people put out there. They say they see it, and I've seen it. I've got the little app tracker on my phone and I could see it go by, and it goes from horizon to horizon. It's a bright light. It looks like a very big star or planet shining brightly. But if you think about what you're supposedly looking at, the ISS is about the size of a football field. The 747 is almost that size also. If you think of a 747 at altitude at 5 miles up, it's a tiny little speck in the sky. If you doubled that distance, you would not be able to see it, even if it was lit up like a Christmas tree with a million LED lights on it. You wouldn't see it at 10 miles. But we're led to believe that we can see the ISS at 50 times that height. It's absolute absurdity.
The Hubble space station or satellite deal, whatever.
The Hubble telescope
is nothing but what? Sophia. It's a 747 with a radar dish sticking out the side. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, this is just it. What we're seeing, and I really think, like the launching balloons and taking the satellites up, they're just floating around up there. We can't see the balloons because they're so high. And I really do believe that's all that satellites are. I mean, can you imagine being in the ISS space station and junk all around you and nothing hits you? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I believe Amanda proved that the ISS isn't real by examining the bathroom.
Yeah, my toilet video.
Game over. Game over.
All right, Jaron.
Well, excuse me, how long does water last?
Right, exactly. All right, Jaron, I want to ask you about what Doug was talking about the satellites. We're told that there are thousands of satellites in space. How many satellites are really up there?
None. Well, if you're talking about an item in orbit, I don't believe that orbits exist. I don't think there's any proof of it. It was Newton who, gave it as a mind bender, or an experiment to where he's thinking about a cannon, and if you shoot it just short, it will hit the Earth, and too far, it'll go out in space. But if you shoot it just right, it will fall around the ball planet and forever keep going around it. And that's a great little thought experiment, but I don't think it happens in reality. And so I don't think there's any actual satellite. There's no, go online and try and find a picture of a satellite that's in space. You would think it'd be easy to do when you release it or whatever. Just take a picture of it, show us a picture. But everything is CGI. It seems like an awfully easy money grab to me when you talk about DirecTV or somebody like that pays $700 million to have their satellite put up in space so that they can provide TV to everyone. So to me, it just seems like you could strap things up to a balloon. You could send it up and maybe spend, $50 million on getting it all lined up so that it gets to everybody's TVs. And then you just stole $650 million. So it just seems like a lot simpler of an explanation. The way that they describe the items in orbit anyway just doesn't make sense. They're supposed to degrade, which means they're going to constantly be being pulled by the gravity of the Earth, coming back towards it. So they have to have their own little propellant. They have to have their little squirters so that they can get back to where they're supposed to be. And they say somebody's sitting at a computer somewhere monitoring all this so that nothing ever hits something else, or that, like you said, the ISS getting hit. It's all crazy. I mean, when's the last time we have, I think it's something like 20 tons of space debris that hits the Earth every day. And it's like, if that's happening, then why have we never had something hit one of these satellites? When have we ever had everybody's direct TV just go out because, oops, the satellite got hit by a meteorite? It just doesn't happen. And if you look at the Space Communications Act of, I think it was 1967 or something like that, or 63, whatever it was, they basically said there was arguments from all these people like AT&T and others saying, hey, this is just a modern day representation of the underground cables we already have run. So they even knew.
Exactly.
Yeah, they knew what was going on, and then they basically got put into the deal. And then AT&T shut their mouth, and now if you look at them today, they're making $35 billion a quarter. So,
wow.
99%, 99% of all information that is flowing across the supposed ball Earth is by cables. And if you don't believe it, look it up. It's all satellite TV. I work for a satellite TV place. It's all ground-based. There's no satellites. The antenna that they point is not pointing up. It's pointing at the horizon, right where the signal's coming from.
Another proof is, satellite TV doesn't work offshore. GPS doesn't work in the outer southern oceans. It doesn't work between California and Hawaii. It doesn't work in the middle of the Amazon, Jaron discovered recently. Yeah. Because there's no radio mass there. It doesn't work in certain parts of the Atlantic Ocean unless you're near some of those remote islands. Where there are radio masts, and they're putting them up all over to make the service work. The other thing is, if you notice, where you have low service and where it doesn't work, it doesn't change. It stays. Those dead spots change. If satellites were spinning around the Earth in this pattern that they show us, there wouldn't be the same dead spot every day everywhere. Good point. Dead spots.
And you want to know where the GPS is? Drive down any street in America and look at all the supposed cell phone towers. That's nothing but GPS.
And tracking stuff and, weapons for the military and everything else,
Probably mine. Yep.
Okay, Scott, are you still on the line with us? I can't tell who's on because I don't have a switchboard handy. Okay, I think Scott dropped off. All right, would anybody else like to ask a question? Because I have tons of questions, but I don't want to dominate, the show.
I got one.
So start it off.
Go ahead, Risha.
I got one little question. Because I'm 64 years old. So I remember when I was a kid, there seemed to be more reports of splashdowns of satellites degrading. Does anyone know, how many cumulative reports of satellites falling, out of orbit there have been? Because whenever that would happen, people would, go into a little bit of a panic and be worried about where the thing was going to splash down. It almost always ended up in the ocean, which is convenient, I guess, based on what you're talking about. So does anyone actually know, and have they just stopped talking about that? Is that just old news? Because it seems like it's happened fairly infrequently now, even if let's assume it's, they're floating a story to continue this paradigm. So does anyone have any info on that?
Go ahead, Jaron. This is you. Jaron?
Oh, yeah, he's still there.
Sorry, I'm here. I had myself on mute and didn't realize it. I was talking to myself. Say the question one more time.
Okay, so satellites, satellites used to crash down and scare everybody. What happened to that?
Well, if you look at everything from a propaganda kind of standpoint, I think that, back in the 60s, 70s, we did hear about some stuff coming down. They said the Skylab came down. That scared everybody because they didn't know where it was going to go. I just think that now saying something like that is going to get them in trouble. They'd rather just say that everything's still up there, it's all orbiting, because we can't prove any of that. As soon as you say something's going to come back to the Earth, then now it's something that can be proven a lie, meaning somebody can be out in a boat and say, no, nothing came down. There's too many things that can go wrong if you start heading down that route. So I think it's easier for them just to say everything is up in orbit and they have little jets on them, even though it's been 40 years, and they can just squirt the little propellant and go right back into orbit. So that's the way I think that why those things were talked about in the past and aren't talked about now, because they've already got everybody believing in satellites. So what's the point of getting them to believe it more? You know, they just would rather.
It was usually a Russian satellite. Have you noticed that it was always like some other country's satellite?
Yeah,
Allie's here.
Their ship just went up. They just sent something to the ISS. It was probably about 3 weeks ago from Russia, and it didn't make it. Supposedly, the rocket got up in the air, and then within like 6 minutes, they said they lost it. But again, then I looked into that, and there was a $150 million insurance policy on that rocket. So to me, everything I see is just money grabs. It's easy ways to steal money from people.
You know, if they replayed the moon missions that we all saw, or those of us that are old enough today, nobody would buy it whatsoever. The Chinese are either on the moon now or were just recently on the moon, and the media didn't even cover it because it was so fake that the pictures that were released were laughable at best.
Wow. Okay, this is about the money grab. How much money do you think NASA has stolen from the people?
Oh my God, you can't even calculate it.
And what have they done with that money?
Well, here's the thing, is that they put the money right back in the system. So, I mean, it's not, you know, I think sometimes people think like they went to space and just threw it all away. Well, no, they purchased their things. They're gonna steal some. But if somebody pays a bunch of money for a satellite, well, they have to have employees that are going to go and work on this satellite. The employees don't have any idea. They're making a satellite. They're scientists. So they put the thing together. Go ahead.
1.2 billion rounds of ammunition, underground bunkers, food, everything. That's where all this money's going to keep them alive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jaron.
Spray ops got to be expensive. I mean, my God, it's just, relentless and constant and everywhere. So
yeah, and sometimes I think that money they can make it. So I think we think of money as being very important to us, which is obvious. But I think to them, they want us to think that it's important to them. But I think they can make it whenever they want. So it's not. Yeah, they steal the money. I mean, that's obvious. But they also need to keep this fake economy going.
It's
so
not
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's not about them needing the money. It's about them taking the money from us.
Right. Exactly. And then keeping people in their jobs. So they need these people working their 9-to-5s at JPL or at the Alabama station for NASA. And there's something like I want to say it's like 140,000 jobs or something that NASA just keeps afloat. And so they take the money from taxes and they pay out the people, and these people have their jobs. And now they're going to steal some. Like I said, when you charge somebody $750 million for a satellite and maybe you get away with putting up a balloon for a third of that price, well, you're going to be able to pocket the other money. So I do think they are stealing money. If you're talking about how much have they taken from the American taxpayer, it's, especially with inflation, over $1 trillion. And that's in 50 years.
Yep.
So
they get $50 million a day. So imagine that you gave any organization $50 million a day, and then at the end of 50 years, you asked for a report on what was done. So you're given $50 million a day. We want to see a report at the end of 50 years. What has NASA done for humanity in 50 years? What have they done? What do we have to thank NASA for? Some pictures of Pluto and
not a damn thing.
Not a damn thing. A tin can that goes around the Earth. That's about it.
Yep.
Amazing.
I got a question about when you fly, say, to Europe or the Middle East or China. I mean, the time zone differences and how it gets dark and seeing the sunrise, and it all seems to coordinate with, a round or a spherical Earth. So how do you explain what happens when you get on a plane and fly to, halfway around the world, as one normally would think of the world? So what happens then? What's the story with that?
Well, it's like a plate, right? So think of a dinner plate, and the sun is going in a clockwise circle on that dinner plate, And so when you fly from point to point, the sun is always going faster than you because the sun moves at about 1,500 miles per hour. So you're not going to move as fast as it is. So you're going to see it rise. You're going to see it set. And there's a lot of videotape. I think maybe David would know the exact videos, but there's some videotape that shows that when these planes get up, say they're going from New York to Germany or something like that, that you don't even see the sun set when you should on a ball. But because it's a flat Earth, the sun just stays off to the side of the plane and would set for the people on the ground, but for the plane, it never sets.
There's something to look for when one is flying next time, I would think.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's cool.
And bring a compass. If you ever fly, just bring a compass and, watch what they show on the back of the seat where they say they're going certain directions, because we found several examples of people clearly showing that they're not going the direction that they say they are.
Wow.
If you can get a compass through TSA and they're not like, oh, what, you're trying to track us?
Okay, we did bring in Allie Larkin. Allie, are you with us?
Yes, I am, and I'm sorry I came into the call late, but I was busy doing other things.
Yes, it's an honor to have you on the show. What have you been doing?
Oh, well, I just want to bring up 2 points of what I have heard on this call so far. Did I hear someone say that there were no satellites?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Well, back in the 80s, when I was working for a marine distributor and I was an offshore sailor, a marine electronics guy came into our store and took me out in the parking lot to show me this new thing he had in his hand called a Garmin GPS. Oh, my gosh. I looked at that, and I had an epiphany. And I turned to Ned, the electronic salesman, and I said, you know, Ned, I'm really glad I am enrolled in the David Birch Star Path School of Navigation, because when I'm out on the ocean blue and those satellites go down, I will still know how to navigate. And would you believe 5 years ago they quit making charts, nautical charts? You cannot buy nautical charts anymore. And then I heard flat Earth. And my question to anyone that thinks we have a flat Earth versus a round Earth, I would like to know why when I am out on the ocean blue, I see the curvature on the horizon.
That's a great question, Allie.
I will start with that. So the GPS doesn't work out in the southern oceans or in the middle of our oceans in the north that don't have any land nearby, because the GPS is using what used to be called the old Loran system long before satellites were a thing.
I used the Loran system.
Yeah,
I was a sailboat and offshore sailor.
So GPS is the same thing. It's just a graphic overlay on top of the Loran. Instead of having numbers, you have high altitude photos of the Earth. As far as seeing the curvature, if you can only see a certain distance before that point of convergence. So you can see, if you want to, let's just say 10 miles, whether it's more or less, that's not the issue. So if you're looking straight forward, and we'll call that 12 o'clock, you can see 10 miles. And if you look at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and put a mark all the way around at 10 miles, you're making a big circle. And if you connected all those dots, there's your big flat circle. And that's your horizon, but that's on a flat plane. You may imagine that that's a sphere, but you're seeing in a flat circle.
When has anybody ever gone north to south?
Well,
Never.
the first time I saw it, I was sailing from Tacoma out the Strait of Juan de Fuca south to San Francisco. And all the time we were out there along the coast of the Pacific Ocean, or, we were like 50 miles offshore, and the whole way we could see the curvature of the Earth.
Jaron?
Well, I guess, what do you mean by see the curvature of the Earth? Because even mathematicians and science will say that you can't see the curvature of the Earth until you're 60,000 feet high. So I'm confused what you mean by seeing the curvature. Can you explain that? Explain to me what you mean.
I had 9 crew guys with me, and we all saw it. And somewhere in the archives of my photographs, I have pictures of it.
No, I mean, explain to me what you mean by, you're saying you saw like a bubble, like a hump, or what do you mean by seeing the curvature?
Sure. Like the Earth is round. There was a curvature on it because of how we could see more than 10 miles away.
Well, and
there was no land in sight.
Right, and science says that you can only see 3 miles if you're 6 feet tall. So I mean, these are the
I don't care what science tells me. I'm only 5'5", and I know what I saw.
So you're proving that the Earth is flat, because if we lived on a ball 24,000 miles around, like science tells us, that science says you can only see 3 miles if you're 6 feet above the Earth because of curvature. But you can see much farther. You're seeing all the way to the point of convergence, all the way around you. So imagine if you had a long rope, and the end of that rope was as far as you can see, and somebody dragged that rope all the way around. It's going to draw a big flat circle. Only in your mind are you seeing a sphere or curvature of the Earth. You're seeing a flat circle, not a sphere.
And proof of that would be...
What's in my mind?
When you look at a circle, like some people could say, "Oh, that's a sphere," and they might be right, but you don't know if it's right, because a circle looks like a sphere. Depending on how you're seeing it, you're seeing a flat circle. If the Earth was a sphere, you would only be able to see 3 miles in all directions. But you said it yourself; you were seeing much farther because the conditions warranted it, and you see in a circle. So when you see a circle, you don't know if it's a sphere or not. It's a circle. Good, Jaron.
It's
sorry.
perception.
Yeah.
Right. You started to rise up from wherever you were at. If you got into a helium balloon or a hot air balloon and started to rise up, your circle that you could see would gradually grow larger, because as you go up, you can see further, but you're not seeing further down the curvature of the Earth. You're seeing further out to the flat plane. And does that make sense?
No, that does not make sense, because I know what I saw.
Right, but you're saying you saw a circle, right? A hump or a curve.
Well, various places all over the world, and from the airplanes, I've also seen it.
So the thing is, science and mathematicians that say they know the size of the Earth say that you can't see any curvature until you're 60,000 feet high. So if you see it from...
I don't believe most scientists, and if you ask me, their degrees are no longer applicable.
I agree with you 110%. We're on the same page as far as that goes. And that's part of the reason we have some of these questions, because when you do think about it, let's say you're on a plane and you're up high and you think you see the curvature, you have to remember that you can only see in a circle around you, meaning that is the maximum you can see is the equal distance from you, no matter which direction you look, which is a circle. So what you're saying is you saw the curvature. What we're saying is, isn't it possible that what you're seeing is the limit of your eyesight and it being a circle around you?
And if you also notice that the horizon is at your eye level, even in an airplane or on the ground, no matter where you are, the horizon always rises to eye level. If it was a ball, it would drop off significantly as you go up, but that does not happen.
You would have to look down.
And you don't. You could be sitting on a plane at 30, 40,000 feet, look out the left window and see the horizon right there, and look out the right window and see the horizon right there. You might be seeing 200 miles, 400-mile span, and the horizon on both sides is equal with your eyes. That's a flat plane.
So you're telling me when I was on that boat going down the Nile River in Egypt during full moon, and I'm on the top of the boat, and to the one side I can see sun setting, and on the other side I can see the sun rising, or the moon, or the sun and the moon at the same time on the horizons, that they're just on the side of a flat plane?
Correct.
I'm
That is a difficult one to wrap your mind around with all of the programming, how we've been told we're on a spinning ball, but there is, something that they didn't teach us. And in school, it's how things converge over a very short distance. I was at a hotel in Las Vegas recently, and there was the Bellagio, and the hall was so long that the lights on the top of the hall literally met the floor at the far end of the hallway. And that's just, a couple blocks long. Everything converges, and then you can't see it anymore.
So then explain to me why when I've been in different hemispheres, northern to southern, when you flush the toilet, it goes the opposite way.
Jaron, go ahead. I'll tell you.
It's actually
the toilets are made that way to go opposite direction, depending on whether you're in which hemisphere you're in.
No, it's actually, if you can look that up online, it's a old wives' tale. It's a myth, and that's something that's been debunked. Imagine that the Earth is spinning one rotation per day. So that's, they say we're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, but if you think of it as one rotation per day, like a merry-go-round, that's an extremely slow movement to where it wouldn't affect water that's going down toilets or tubs. It's just they say they did a test in 1962, and the force of gravity itself pulling the water down is 3 million times stronger than the Coriolis force would be. And if you just, you can go to Snopes or whatever site you like. I think it's on Wikipedia too. It'll tell you that that is a myth, that, water goes down based on so many other factors, the way the sink is shaped, the way the tub is shaped, but never because of any kind of Coriolis force. Just like the tornadoes and all those things that they talk about, the winds and the pressure differential would be so much more involved than the Coriolis force.
Okay, here's one thing too.
Can you tell me why so many of my friends who have sailed all the way around the world haven't fallen off then? How do they sail around the world if it's flat?
Have you ever been to a lake? Have you ever been on a lake? I grew up on a lake, and there was islands in the middle of the lake, and I sailed around the islands 100 times, and I never fell off the lake.
Well, now hold it. Now, if the Earth is spinning at just an even 1,000 miles per hour, how does a 500-mile-an-hour plane land on that?
Yeah, I mean,
you can't plan on something that's going 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
There's no way.
Even science has shown, and numerous times in tests and everything, there's no test that's ever proved the Earth to spin, and every test has proven the Earth is standing still. Now, of course,
exactly.
science isn't going to tell us that, because they've set up their science to not ever allow the question of God or to allow any idea of a creator. So what they have to do is, even though the Earth would work in the center of the universe and all their observations would match, they can never allow that, because the next question would be why? Well, who put us here?
And that's why they have to lie to us about everything. They don't want us knowing the truth, because if the truth came out, their little scheme's over.
Well, then my next question would be, if we study our history, we know that the magnetic poles have switched before. and so tell me, when we are setting our compasses to the magnetic north, why that is changing a few degrees. In fact, it's changed so many degrees that they've had to change the numbers on the runways that those airplanes land on.
Is your name Risha? Risha?
No, that's Allie.
Allie. Sorry, Allie, I have a question for you. Just without change, I don't want to get into the subject, but do you believe 9/11 was real?
Absolutely. Well, yeah, it was real. It happened, but the way it happened was a false flag.
Okay. So the same people that told you about 9/11 are the same people that told you that the poles have shifted, 17 times or whatever. You're listening to liars. that are keeping us in fear and disconnected from who we really are. There is no pole shift.
Have you flipped on your head?
Yeah, unless there's another explanation that I'm not thinking of. Jaron, do you have a feeling on that?
No, I would have the same answer. What?
I have to exit this wonderful show because I need to put sheets on the bed, back to the mundane realities. But
okay, I love you, Risha.
Fascinating. I just want to know one thing. Where would I go for more info on this? What's the most reliable website or?
Jeranism.com.
Deep inside the rabbit hole.
Yeah, Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole is a good one.
Okay. All right, that's great. You guys have been very, very interesting.
Love you, Risha.
Just research everything.
Amelia Earhart. I mean, what the hell happened to her? Do you guys have some inside track on that?
Didn't she end up in Japan or something? Maybe
the whole story. I'm not an expert on that, but the whole story is nonsense. We weren't told the true story on what happened there.
Well, I know that. I just wonder if you had something. All right.
I
okay,
did not.
I'll check your website. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah,
good night, Risha.
Take the time and watch some videos. Bring some popcorn.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
So I mean, many of my friends feel the way that Allie does, and I get made fun of from many of my friends for even researching this topic. In fact, the trolls speak often on their poor excuse for a radio show, calling me a flat earther simply for having you on my show, David. And you saw that stupid website they made, or Facebook page they made of us, about the flat earth and stuff. But I think it's just these are unresearched people. I'm still I enjoy being on the fence. I enjoy researching it.
The woman that just was asking all those questions, she has not looked into it, and she's asking all of the right questions to get started. It's the people that refuse to look at their own model and refuse to believe, to look at any new evidence. That's where the problem is. I asked you before the show, I want to talk to, I'm tired of talking to people that aren't, what's the term that I use? Did I say idiot?
You said dumb.
I said dumb. But the problem is anytime you get somebody that prepares for a globe versus flat debate, if they really prepare, they don't show up because they become flat earthers.
Yeah, and then there's the other group, or just the people that already have made up their mind that flat earthers are idiots. The globe has been known for thousands of years, and so they just will never look into it. And they don't have any intent on even hearing words that you're saying. They just have every intent on calling you names, on making fun of you, how stupid it is, how regressed we all are. And that's their entire plan, and that's their goal. And those are the people that, I'm done talking to too, because once you realize they're not listening. They don't think that there's a chance of what you're saying is true. And if that's the case, well, why are you going to waste your breath on them?
Right. The people that annoy me are the people that tell me that I'm, by researching the flat earth, it's taking me away from important issues that I'm supposed to be researching, like chemtrails or death towers. And for me, I can research anything. I think not looking at someone telling me you can't look into this, that's when I have to look into it. I'm sorry.
Well, Amanda, I agree with what you're saying. I used to be where those people are, because when I discovered the flat earth, I decided not to talk about it because it was going to discredit everything else I had done. But I've come, then I realized, the truth is the truth. I got to talk about it. And now I've actually moved flat earth to the #1 position on my website, because I believe the flat earth is really the key to waking people up and disconnecting from the system and depowering the ones that say they're in power.
Well, and Madison, the articles that I send you, they talk about chemtrails, and I keep hearing more and more on different websites about chemtrails and stuff. They're hiding something. They're trying to hide something. Yeah, they're spraying shit in the air that's affecting us and killing us, and that's just it. What the hell are they doing? This is the whole thing. It's the freaking lies. I mean, I am so sick of our government lying to us. That's my main thing.
Yeah, if you look at World War II, and don't quote me if I'm using the wrong number here, but I believe like 50 million people died, or I don't know, probably more than that. But anyways, so millions and millions and millions of people died in World War II, and that was a depopulation agenda. So we haven't had another World War II, like World War III hasn't kicked off yet, in full blast. So they have to kill us another way. So they have to kill millions.
We won't peacefully go into the rail cars. They're just going to spray us from above. That's how it is.
If enough people wake up to the flat earth, they won't have anyone that'll participate in their fake wars, because, I don't know many people that have really come to realize who we are and where we live that would participate in any such nonsense.
Yeah. Did you give consent to them spraying? No, none of us did. But they put it out there in writing, but none of us looked it up. Because we're all too concerned about what's going on the television and all that. I mean, this is just it. I'm waiting for when everybody sees what the hell's really going on.
Well, you'll be waiting a while, but keep your fingers crossed.
I think there's too many people love the lie. They love the slavery. And, I would say tip my cap to the powers that shouldn't be, because what they did was they set up a system. It's a trap, but they set it up in a way to make it look fantastic. Here's your freedom. Here's your liberty. And you've got so many people that just don't see it. They're happy being slaves. They're happy paying their, every bill that they have, and they're just happy in the system. And so that's, I think, the biggest problem is that, it took us being unhappy, or at least questioning things. But if you are happy in your little slavery, are you ever going to even question anything? Why would you? It doesn't.
Yeah, and well, it's like if it doesn't affect them, they don't care.
Right.
It's not affecting me, so why should I give a shit? But that's just it. I mean, I'm. Oh God. I mean, this really gets down to me because I've got kids, and they're the ones that are going to have to go through this shit, and I'm trying to stop it. And Madison, she's trying her hardest to stop it. No child should have to go through this shit that's going on right now, and
get worse.
Yeah, and it's just. And that's why I'm trying to wake up my kids to this. I'm hoping that they see it. I keep posting on their page, and if they unfriend me or whatever, but they're going to see it one way or another. I mean, that's just the way I feel. I care too much about the younger generation right now. It's all going to hell, thanks to Obama. But I mean, we can pull this out. We can turn it around if we keep trying. And keep going.
Yeah, because there's some things like freedom of speech and things like that are getting very close to being gone. And, there's so many people that allow these little steps because they say, well, it's okay if the cops pull you over for no reason because you're not doing anything wrong. And so they let all these things go. And just with time, they get worse and worse and worse. It's just like now we have no privacy. I mean, we know that our cell phone conversations are being recorded and that our text messages are being recorded and our emails are being stored. And yet we're all kind of just like, well, okay, I'm not doing anything wrong, so I guess it's okay. But, like you said, I've got kids too. And 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you're going to get arrested for saying the wrong thing in an email. And, I don't want my kids living through that. It's already.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like they're acclimating all our children through school. I mean, you can't point your finger. Oh, that's a gun. You can't point your number 2 pencil at anybody. They're doing this, acclimating the next generation to be absolutely pacified with the state. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. They want the state to be in control of your child, and they have no say. They won't know what freedom is.
No, they really won't.
Okay, Stephen just added somebody. I don't know who. We'll have to wait that minute to find out who it is.
Hold on. This is somebody. Okay, caller 281. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes.
Go ahead. Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Amy Elizabeth.
Hello, how are you? Do you have a question
Hi, I'm very good, thank you.
Do you have a question for Jaron or David about flat Earth?
Yes, I'm really interested in the flat Earth topic. I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I've heard about it, and I've heard of Jaron and David, and the thing about the flat Earth that I don't understand, and everybody probably has asked the same question, what about the pictures from NASA? I mean, I grew up with the whole thing with space and rockets and astronauts, and I just don't understand how every single photo could be not real, and this whole deception could be pulled over the whole world's eyes all this time. I mean, why has nobody cracked? Why has nobody said anything? Why has nobody come out, even like a deathbed confession?
That's a great question. All right, go for it, one of y'all.
Well, I'll start that, as far as somebody coming out, once you realize that the media is completely controlled, the media is completely owned, bought, and paid for long ago, in the 40s, 50s, you need to realize that even if somebody were to say something, we would never know. You mean if Buzz Aldrin were to try and get a speech out to where he said that he didn't go to the moon, because the media is owned, nobody's going to cover that. It's going to get swept under the rug. They'll make up some story. So, and if they're threatened, which is what I have to assume is the case, that these people are threatened, or they're told that if you ever say anything that, this will happen to you and your family. And so it makes sense to me that they just go through the motions, they live through their life, and it's not something that they're going to spill the beans on. And as far as your other question, rockets and all the pictures from Earth, even NASA admits they have the one picture that was taken in 1972, and that's the blue marble picture that's on every science book, and we've all seen that picture a million times. And it wasn't until 2015 that NASA said it took its second photo of the Earth. Now, every photo that's been taken in between that time is a composite photo, meaning that they have some sort of satellite they say is in orbit, and it's taking strips of pictures, and then over time they can get all these strips together and they construct this ball planet. So that's how they go about giving us our images of the Earth. And in 2015, supposedly they have some epic satellite that's 1 million miles from Earth that took a picture of the Earth. But even that one is a 3-picture composite. They admit that as well. It just seems like it's something they cannot do. But we're supposed to believe that they're out there taking pictures of Jupiter, and they're taking pictures of Pluto, and they've got these satellites going every which direction. But for some reason, they cannot turn the satellite around and take a picture of the Earth. Why don't we have cameras on the moon? People still have questions about the lunar eclipse. And why wouldn't they put a camera on the moon to show us during the lunar eclipse that the Earth moves in front of the sun from the moon's perspective? Why have we never had a 24/7 video camera on the Earth when they've got a craft that's in orbit? The craft is in orbit of the Earth. It's been there for 16 years, they say, yet they cannot give us a 24/7 video feed of the Earth because they say it goes on the dark side of the Earth. And you say, well, I thought you had satellites. Why wouldn't you be able to beam the signal off a satellite back to the Earth It's just crazy that these are the things that they get away with saying, and people just let them. It doesn't matter what NASA says. They get away with it. They can do anything. They're free to say whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and they just supposedly they sent a satellite to Pluto with a 4-megapixel camera. Excuse me? My camera, my phone I'm talking on right now has an 8-megapixel camera. And you're telling me they're only going to send a 4-megapixel camera? Why?
The extra megapixels weighed too much.
Well, yeah, but yeah. I mean, we have a high quality HD 180p whatever, and they're giving us that. No, it's all a lie.
I want to know what network they send it back on, because if I move my laptop to the far side of my house, I lose the signal.
You just got to get that space Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It was, what is it, like 3 billion miles, I think, or 4 billion miles to Pluto, and they're sending back images
crystal clear images that with a it's going 60,000 miles an hour past this dimly lit planet, and it comes back with a perfect Disney shot of Pluto.
No blur at all.
Astronauts to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Jaron and David. Okay, both of you guys are so well researched. When I'm listening to you guys, I'm humbled by the amount of information that you're able to give in your answers. How long has it taken you guys to research this, to get all this information?
2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, same for me.
That's truly impressive. Amy, did you have another question?
Just one last one. And I really thank you guys. This whole thing's making my head hurt, but in a really good way. So thanks for the show.
Yeah.
The question is, okay, so I think it's China, or is it Japan, who's got something, or I guess now they say they've got something on the moon. So how could they have something on the moon? Or what you're saying is that they don't have anything on the moon either?
Do you know that? Have you seen it? Really, have we seen anything?
There's nothing on the moon. It's just another lie. If you actually Google the pictures of a China moonlander, and you'll literally think it's a cartoon, because it is a cartoon.
Actually, if you go to space videos on YouTube, he's got a live feed playing right now. That's the orbiter, the Chinese orbiter going around the moon, and it shows the Earth rise. And I mean, it is so fake that you've never seen anything like it. So yeah, space videos, and then make sure you give it a thumbs down and say something in the chat. I can't anymore. I got kicked out.
Well, can I ask one last question?
Sure.
It's not a question really. It's okay, so I've heard about you guys on Facebook, but I know there's this whole world on YouTube that's going on. So where would somebody go to get the best information? Because there's so much out there on Facebook. It's like, go here, go there. Like, where would you go, like, as a beginner to get as much information as you can and then start looking on your own?
Jeranism.com.
Deep inside the rabbit hole.
Madison Star Moon.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you so much for taking my call.
Thank you, Amy. We appreciate you calling in.
Bye.
Bye. So that's great. I'm glad that people are interested enough to call in and ask important questions. And you guys have given great answers. I mean, I already feel more research just talking to you. And I know that Stephen is going to make a YouTube video of this. It's going to go on truthcat.com. We never did take a break, which is odd because I think Stephen probably just abandoned his post as my producer and fled for this recording because, this is a subject that I was told I'm not allowed to discuss. But I went ahead and
let me go.
No, he allowed me to have this as my Christmas present. I asked him, and so it was
Aren't
good.
You lucky?
Yes, I did ask Eric Dubé to join us, but I was unable to. I asked him twice, but I was unable to get him on the show. But I am going to send him a link to this. And did you guys record by any chance?
I may have.
Okay, that's awesome. So I'm hoping that you'll make a video.
I think Jared. I've listened to Jared and the Mogul and Eric Dubé and all that, but I like Jared because. I don't know. I like Jared because he's got a good voice and he's got that good. He could be a good teacher in school.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And also, I want to tell you, David, that my interview that I did with you is my second most popular YouTube video of all time. So that's pretty good. I mean, out of everything that I've ever done, Flat Earth is like the number 2 most popular subject. It's pretty interesting.
That tells you something right there. If Flat Earth was a psyop or was hogwash, the hive mind would have discovered that already and it would be a non-issue. But the problem is that once you start looking into it, it's a rabbit hole you can't come out of because once you see, you can't unsee. It's only the people that don't see that think they see.
Yeah.
Well, and my whole thing is why are they hiding the Antarctic? I mean, that's my main clue is
because
the rest of the world is open, but why are they hiding that?
I put that in my book. I made the coffee table book. It's because if people were freely allowed to go there, they would see that we don't live on a ball. Everywhere else, you could think you live on a ball, like that woman caller that we had. She thought she lived on a ball. She thought she could see it from her boat. She thought she could see it from her plane. But if you go to Antarctica, I'm not sure what you're going to see, but you're going to realize that you're not on the bottom of a ball.
Well, and it's almost like the movie, The Truman Show. You find the outer edge, of the movie scripted scene. I mean, that's just it. I mean, is that what it is? I mean,
there may be a dome. There may just be cold and darkness, and that's as far as we can go. There may be more land. There may be many things, but what there isn't is a continent on the bottom of a spinning ball.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm trying to say too is like they're using the Van Allen radiation belts that, we can't get outside the Earth. We can't go any farther than what we are here.
They put a fence around us with the Antarctic Treaty, and they put a fence over us with the Van Allen radiation belts, all in the same year, I believe.
Exactly. And that's what I want people to understand. We're being fenced in.
Yeah, I've been in contact with Bart Sabrell continuously throughout the past few months, and I've been trying to get him on the show and everything. But he is a firm believer in the Van Allen radiation belts and like the fact that we didn't go to space and everything like that. And I mean, I love his research as well. I just love he does that rogue journalism style that I like. I mean, I like just going up to people and not giving them a chance to get out of it and just hitting them with, the facts and busting them live. So, I mean, he does the same thing.
Busting their chops.
I like him too.
Yeah, he's great. So I keep continuing to try to get him on. He's no longer on Facebook, which sucks because I was able to talk to him that way, but we're in contact through emails and stuff, and I've been trying to establish a time when he can come on the show. So if he ever does come on the show, I'm hoping that you guys would join us because that would be a very special show, obviously. So yeah, I mean, we have like a half hour left, but I don't feel like we have to go on forever. I know that you said that you could only stay for an hour and you've already gone over a half hour. If you wanted to go ahead and start to wrap it up, we can. You guys can just go ahead and put your last 2 cents in. I want to make sure that you get all your websites out and any information where we can find you guys. And we'll go ahead and start with you first, David.
You can find a lot of information on Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. I believe we are up to 10 Flat Earth pages up there. If you are listening to this and Flat Earth is blowing your mind right now, or you think it's utter ridiculousness, I challenge you to go there, go to the question and answer page, try to get through that page. And see if you still believe we live on a spinning ball flying through space at unbelievable speeds, going around the Great Attractor, which is, how big is that, Jaron? 2.36 trillion miles across?
Yeah.
I was telling Jaron that he doesn't even realize how big that number is. We're going around the Great Attractor, 2.36 trillion miles, 26 trillion miles. If you were traveling 100 miles per second, it would only take you 62 billion years to cross the face of it. Okay, I mean, these are just such utter nonsense that people are like, oh yeah, I was told that. They're facts. Yeah, they're facts because that's what it is. I mean, it's utter nonsense. So, check it out. Don't believe what people tell you. Don't believe what we tell you. Try to prove that we live on a ball, and then you can call yourself a flat earther.
That's awesome.
My YouTube channel is DITRH, stands for Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole.
Yes, I just love you, David. I know that we fight behind closed doors, but I fight with everybody. Ask Doug. He's my brother, and I will tear his face apart. He comes at me with some Mandela effect stuff, and I'm like, you conspiracy theorist. I start freaking out on him, but I believe in the Mandela effect. But some of the stuff we'll fight about, I just do that with everybody. With my producer, just ask anybody. So don't feel special. I love you, David, and I really admire your work. I think you're great, and I think you're a genius, seriously. And I appreciate everything that you've done. All right, I'm going to go on to jeranism. Where can we find you and put your last 2 cents in?
Sure. Yeah. The YouTube channel is jeranism, JERANISM. And I've got a website, same thing, jeranism.com. And I also agree about David. It's actually kind of cool because when I met him or heard about him, he was on a show called the Baller Skeptic Roundtable, and he was like by far my favorite of the group. I think I just liked him because of his voice. I'm not really sure.
You mean my nasally Jew from New York?
Yeah, I kind of enjoyed it, and then we've become friends over the last year or so, and it's fun to just research and run things by each other. And what people need to realize is that the act of science is challenging whatever the current top belief is, whatever is believed by everyone to be the fact, the truth. That's what science is challenging that and trying to knock it off its perch, because that's how you get closer and closer to the truth. But somehow we've come to a point in our society where people feel like once the truth has been found, that everything else needs to go. You cannot challenge it anymore. And they don't see that that is leaving yourself open for deception in the worst of ways. And it's exactly what they would want you to think if they're telling you a lie and saying this is the truth. You have no reason to look into it. And we need to realize that nothing bad can happen if we all think the earth is flat and we start researching it and we find out it's not and it's a ball. Well, we just did science a favor by challenging the ball model, and we find out that it is a ball, and nobody got hurt in the process. Where people can get hurt is where everyone just says it is a ball because it's already been figured out, and nobody looks into anything else, because then you can be being deceived. And the more I looked into this over the last 2 years, the more I realized there absolutely is zero proof that we live on a ball. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of mathematics, there's a lot of ideas, there's a lot of thought processes, but there's no actual proof. And once you realize that and you look at the flat earth and you say, hey, at the very least, these things kind of have equal qualities to them. They each have some things that work better in each model. Well, the problem is that we haven't had years and years and years to craft a perfect model around the flat earth. So we get a lot of people coming at us saying, prove to me the earth is flat. How does this work? How does that work? Well, the thing is that people should realize, let's try and challenge the globe first, because once we prove that wrong, then we've got 8 billion people or 6 billion, whatever, how many there are, that are all going to be wanting to find the truth. Right now, it's very difficult. There's, a few thousand of us that are really trying to find out the truth of the flat earth. That's difficult. We're going up against 400 years and the smartest scientists that they had, who built this whole world of relativity and, galaxies and redshifts and all that stuff. And it's all basically to explain away the earth being in the center. That's what all observations show us. And so my thing is, I'm just going to keep challenging the top belief, knowing that no harm can come from it. At the very least, I'm going to discover for myself that what I was taught in school was the truth. But I want everybody to do that, because you'll find what I found, which is it's not the truth. That you can follow through history and look at the things that they did with science, with Haley, with Edwin Hubble. All these guys, they have made assumptions. They have made philosophical choices. They're not basing things off observation. That's not science. And when you really start digging deep, the earth has never been proven to spin, nor has there been any curvature. So that's why I say the earth is flat. I don't know what it is, but I certainly know now it doesn't have curvature, and it's not a ball, and we're not flying through space. So therefore, I think it's flat. So yeah, jeranism.com.
That's so awesome, Jaron. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Doug, you want to put in your 2 cents?
Oh, yeah.
And don't conspiracy theorists out on us.
Oh, no, I agree with everything Jared just said. I mean, it's the total truth. I mean, have you been to space? No, we've not been to space. We don't know that. We're only being told what, is in books. Do you believe in blind faith that what Newton said is the truth? I mean, that's just it. I mean, where does all this stop? We need to find the point where, they need to stop lying to us. It's enough. And that's how I feel. I'm a little guy here, and I listen to Jaredism and all that, and I repost, and that's just me. I'm not a big guy. I'm just a little fish, but I keep reposting everything, and I agree. It's just I'm so sick of the lies. And that's just my whole point. I'm sick of being lied to by our so entrusting government that we have that won't even let us know the truth. And they're bilking us for billions of dollars.
Trillions.
And yeah, trillions. And we're all just sitting here. What's the football game going on and this and that and all being distracted. It's just,
Yep.
That's my 2 cents.
All right. Well, where can we find you? Doug Sipes on Facebook, and he also has a YouTube channel, but he doesn't post anything on it.
No,
okay,
I don't post anything.
I want to see if my producer's still here. Steven, are you here? Because if he's not, I'll have to wrap up the show myself, and it'll just continue recording.
What do you want to do?
Aw. Did you want to make a comment?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Stephen.
Come on.
No, it's good. Okay. Thank you, Stephen Kelly, for giving us this platform to speak on. Truth Cat Radio is totally listener supported, so I want to encourage everyone to donate whatever you can. And I want to thank everybody for this amazing show. I can't wait for the YouTube video to come out so I can post it on my channel. It's an honor to have you all on. Research Flat Earth. And on that note, look up, wake up, and do something.
Yeah, we just had our 5-year anniversary. So wife.
Okay, great. So you and your wife have this show together or whatever. And so you guys are just so full of this great information and you're very, very popular. You're like famous in the flat earth community. You are. And so what are you working on right now?
Just the same stuff. I spend a lot of time doing the research and really trying to investigate exactly how they went about doing what they did, and new ways or new tests or experiments that I could show the people who still can't see it. And some people will never see it, but it just comes down to whether or not you are open enough to think or at least, ponder about whether or not it's possible that we could be all lied to. And when you do, if you take the time just to do the research, within a couple hours, you're going to see that there is no proof anywhere that you live on any kind of a spinning ball, other than people's words. So it comes down to, do you trust men? Do you trust people telling you where you live? Or do you trust your own senses, your own eyes, and some experiments that we've been trying to get done? So just trying to find that one experiment that is the nail in the coffin and, people can't refute, but that's the hard thing to do.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So I have no opinion yet. Even though I've done my research and everything like that, I find the flat earth theory very interesting. And but I'm not sold. I'm definitely not sold that we're on some spinning ball. I definitely know that we're not on a spinning ball. In my heart, I feel like that's a complete lie. And I think that the earth is much bigger than what they say. I don't believe any photograph of the earth from NASA is legitimate. I think it's all CGI. And I've completely debunked NASA in my mind. They're fraudulent. Okay, having said that, I'm not convinced. So I have some questions that I would like to ask you guys. And I don't know how you want to go about this, but should I just shoot a question and then one of you guys can figure out which one of you wants to answer it?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll start off with the first one. This is one that's bugging me. And I know you guys hear this all the time. So
You're live.
hello and welcome to my show. My name is Madison Star Moon. Joining me tonight from deep inside the rabbit hole, David Weiss is here. We also have Jaron from Jeranism and Scott, my friend from Facebook. Tonight, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to discuss all things flat. Now, flat Earth is a very controversial subject that many people consider it even a fringe for the conspiracy theorist. But tonight, we are going to really dive into it and ask the questions that everybody wants to know. I consider Jeranism and David Weiss two kings in the flat earth. I don't know if you call it conspiracy, but the flat earth theory. That's a better way to put it. I have had a great chance to listen to their YouTube videos. I mean, I've been a fan of both of them for a while, And I find them both to be extremely intelligent. Their arguments are well thought out. These are not people just shooting from the hip and just coming up with anything. These are people that have actually done the work to research this theory. And so on that note, I'm going to get things started. I want to welcome everybody to the show. I'll start with you, David. How are things going for you?
Things are going very well. Thanks, Madison.
Okay. And I want to thank you so much for plugging my video on your webpage. That was very nice of you.
Well, that was a great documentary you did. You mixed it up the way I like it with some music. You keep people's attention, and you are insane the way you go after all those people. More people should take after you.
Yeah, thank you. So what is your newest Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole video, or what are you working on right now?
Lately I decided I made a picture book, a book of memes, 100-page hardcover coffee table book. I actually made it for myself, but people loved it and wanted copies, so I've been ordering them up. I made a video about it, and I made a free ebook of it, and it's very effective. You plop this down on the coffee table, some unsuspecting soul, the horizon, and you don't have to look up anymore. You're looking straight over, and there's layers of density in the atmosphere. The clouds that were spaced out above you are now a solid line in the distance because they're all lining up due to your perspective. And as the sun moves away, it gets eclipsed by the clouds. It also, sunlight does not travel for billions of years, millions of years, and billions of miles. Light only travels a very short distance. So all of those things combined, along with air density, layers in the atmosphere, and land topography, the sun literally gets eclipsed. Just like if you're watching a plane fly overhead and there's a building across the street that's several stories taller than you, the building's edge will eclipse the plane, and it is gone behind that. Move that building farther in the distance, you'll see the plane longer, but it will appear to go below the building when it's not. It's just perspective.
So you're saying the sun is actually just going away?
It's just going away, and we lose it due to convergence, perspective, layers of density, and there's also the solid evidence there that when it gets to a certain angle, the light from it bends downwards, and we can no longer see it, even though it's still in our line of sight. We can only see so far. Jaron, you want to add to that?
Sure. I think an easy way to describe it is if you think of you're standing in a tunnel and you're looking down that tunnel, and say that tunnel goes as far as you can see. Well, eventually the roof or the ceiling of that tunnel is going to hit the road. So picture the tunnel going away from you. Eventually, if there's a light on the top of that tunnel, well, eventually the light's going to, if there's a string of lights, eventually it's going to hit the road. So it's the same thing with the sun. The sun is not changing its height. It's just going further and further away from you, which is going to cause it to get smaller and smaller.
Picks it up, and they're ruined for life.
That is awesome. Now, where can we find this book?
Well, you really can't find it. It's very expensive. It's a high quality book. I order it literally through the Apple Picture Book manufacturing. I've made the files available. You can download them from the ebook, and it's all available on the top of each of the Flat Earth pages on deepinsidetherabbithole.com.
That is so special. Yes. I also want to ask you, just from my own personal, I think I've asked you this before, but you're wearing a shirt that says the earth is flat in one of your interviews. Where did you get that shirt?
You can also order that at deepinsidetherabbithole.com. I literally have a place that makes shirts on order, and I make them because I don't know where else to get them. So they're good. It says the earth is flat. That's what it says. That's my favorite shirt.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So yes, I do have Scott that's on with us, and Scott is a firm flat earth believer. Did we just join another caller? It looks like we did. I'm not sure though. There's a minute delay between me and my producer, so he will let me know if he brought someone in. Okay. So, Scott, how are things with you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, I'm very glad to have you on. And you are a firm believer in the flat earth theory, correct?
To me, it's super obvious. and I just don't understand how anybody would deprive themselves of thinking that it couldn't be. So I just don't understand the whole theory of not. Why wouldn't you want to know? I don't get that.
Right. I think people just don't believe it. I have so many questions that are running through my mind that I'm going to hit Jaron and David with tonight. But okay, so yeah, I'm glad that you're on the call. Jaron from Jeranism, I was lucky enough to be a guest caller on one of your shows, and you guys filled me with so much information in just that brief amount of time. How are things going for you?
Excellent. Thank you for having me on.
Yes. Is it you and your wife? I don't know if she's your wife or your girlfriend, but you guys kind of, so a lot of these are going to be these new questions. I mean, same old questions, excuse me. But the sunset. Okay, it looks like the sun is going down because it's allegedly going over the curvature of the earth. It's moving down. Well, if the earth is flat, where's the sun going?
I guess I'll start with that one, if that's all right. That's one of the most complicated. Can you hear me?
Okay, we just connected.
You have two people that just joined you.
I need to know who's connected right now.
Oh, okay.
615, who's this? 615.
Risha Leone in Nashville.
It's Reese? Risa?
Yeah, Risha
Oh, nice. Okay, and then who else?
Doug,
hey, this is Doug in Arizona.
Okay.
And is this Jared on here?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I am so glad I called in. This guy has got the shit going on.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of yours, Jaron. I have to warn you, like Doug is, I always, whenever he posts all this flat earth stuff on my page, I write conspiracy theorist in big capital letters with exclamation points and all this. I always give him a hard time, but he is a flat earther. But anyway, so I'm glad that everybody's on. He'll probably still connect people. And I'll just ask my first question and I'll hand it off to y'all because I don't want to talk the whole time. All right, so go back to David. He was answering the question about sunsets.
So there's several reasons why the sun sets, and everything we've been taught about the sun is not true. The sun is not 93 million miles away. It's not a giant burning ball of hydrogen or anything like that. It's actually very small and local. And the truth of the matter is, it's not even where we see it. We are only seeing the apparent position of a sun. But taking all of that aside, if you have something that's local and traveling across the top of the earth, when it's right above your head, if you wanted to look at it, you have to strain your neck back and look straight up. And it's up there above the clouds. But as it moves across the flat earth over, 10, 20, 30 miles away, you're now looking at it over near